All right, so there were once three boys who were boasting. There were once three boys who were boasting about how fast their fathers were. First one says, "My father is so fast, he can start crossing the street when the light turns yellow and run the whole way across before it turns red." Unbelievable. Next boy says, "That's nothing. My father can shoot a full court shot and be there in time to catch the rebound." Third one says, "That's nothing. My father works for the government. He leaves work at 4 o'clock, he's home by 2:30. So we have our own set of three fathers in this parsha. The parsha starts off, Va'era el Avram el Yitzchak ve'el Yaakov. Hashem says, "I appeared to Avram, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov." It's our three fathers. Zokt Rashi, tremendous chiddush. Rashi says, let's find this Rashi, Va'era el Avos, I appeared to the Avos. Now a couple years back, when my son was 4, I asked him, who are Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? And he said, they're the Avos. So what's Rashi exactly trying to teach us? Rashi's trying to tell me that Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are the Avos. It seems strange. Now, let's say that Rashi tells us somewhere. There is somewhere in Chumash that Rashi should probably tell us that they're the Avos. I get that. I'm totally 100%. But Parshas Vayera does not feel like the spot for that. Sefer Bereshis is where we learn about the Avos. From Parshas Lecha through Parshas Vayechi, somewhere there should be, if we need to say that the Avos, in Karn Avos al Shlosha, whatever it is, we need to say something like that. We need to say Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they're the Avos. The place for that should be somewhere in Sefer Bereshis. What is that doing in Parshas Vayera? And as well, you look at the pasuk itself. Vayera, El Avram, El Yitzchak, El Yaakov. There's a faster way to write that. Vayera, El Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Would have been much simpler if the pasuk just said, "I appeared to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov." What's El Avram, El Yitzchak, El Yaakov? What are we trying to add? So Meir Parmeshlan answers both those questions together. He says, sees the example, oftentimes you have a Rebbe passes away, son becomes a new Rebbe. And the new Rebbe is whatever, there was the whatever Rebbe, the Satmar Rebbe, whatever it is, Belzer Rebbe, passed away, now his son's the new Satmar Belzer, whatever it is. So his goal is to continue on his father's legacy. He's not, maybe he'll put his own little twist on it, but essentially he's trying to continue on the same mahalach of his father. His father trained him in how to be a Rebbe, and now he tries to follow and tries to guide the Hasidim in the same sort of mahalach. That's the way, there's nothing wrong with that. It's certainly a valid way to go through life. However, that's not what the Avos did. We have Avos and we have Toldos. There's a difference between an Av and a Tolda. An Av has to be somebody who's really charting their own path. An Av does not just continue on the path of his ancestors. If you do that, you're not an Av. You're a Tolda. Avram was the Av in terms of Chesed. Avram had his Mahalach. And there would have been absolutely nothing wrong. Yitzchak still would have been a tzaddik. If he would have just gone ahead and been Avram II, Avram Jr., he would have still been a tzaddik. He would have still been the greatest person alive, by far. Nobody would have even come close to him. He would have been very high in Olam Haba. Everything would have been wonderful. But he didn't do that. He said, what exactly is it that Hashem wants from me? How can I go ahead and serve Hashem to the best of my abilities? And then he charted his own path. He became an Av on his own right. He's not just a Tolda of Avram. He is actually, Yitzchak is an Av. Yitzchak is now the Amud, he's the pillar of Gevurah. He's the one who charted a new path for how Klal Yisrael can serve Hashem. Yaakov had two great paths to choose from. It could have been Yitzchak Jr., he could have been Avram III, but he didn't. Yaakov as well, he's also an Av. He's creating as well Tiferes. He's creating another mahalach of how we serve Hashem. He's an Av on his own. He could have gone ahead, there would have been nothing wrong. He would have been wonderful. He would have been a tremendous tzaddik if he just followed Yitzchak's footsteps. That would have been great. But he didn't do that. So the best I can be is to find my own path and to go ahead and chart my own mahalach. And that's why when Hashem appears to us to make us promises that He's going to give us Eretz Yisrael, He's going to redeem us, it's Va'era El Avram, El Yitzchak, the El Yaakov, because there are three separate promises, because each one stands on their own. Each one is an Av in their own right. It's the same thing we do in Shemona Esrei. Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Not just Elokei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Because each one, again, has their own path, their own mahalach, their own derech that they charted. That's why each one is an Av. Rashi's, by saying El Avos, Rashi's telling us Pshat in the Pasuk. Rashi's telling us why it says El Avram, El Yitzchak, El Yaakov, because each one of them is an Av, because each one's an Av, Hashem appears to each of them their own right, to promise them Eretz Yisrael. To promise them He's going to redeem Klal Yisrael. If Dessler has a similar Pshat, he explains that when Hashem answers Yitzchak's tefillos, Yitzchak and Rivka are both davening for a son. And Hashem answers Yitzchak's tefillos instead of answering Rivka's tefillos. Because Eino Dom Tefillos Tzadik Ben Tzadik Tefillos Tzadik Ben Rasha. Right? So everyone asks, what do you mean? It's so much. Makam Shabali Tshuva Om Din Afil Tzdikim Gemur Men Michol Namad Bo. Right? Bali Tshuva reached the highest levels. And as well, you look at where each one came from. Yitzchak, his father was an Avram. I understand there's still challenges. It's still hard. Even when your father's the Gadol Dor, it's still a challenge to be great. 100%, and I'm not trying to minimize that. We see how hard it was for Yishmael. We see how hard it was for Esav. It is hard, and it is certainly a challenge. But you're certainly starting off in a way better position than somebody whose father is Besuel, who sleeps with every single girl on their chasna night, and was going to even do that to his own daughter, and Hashem had to kill him that night to make sure he wouldn't do that to his daughter. There's a big difference. It's hard to be a tzaddik when your father's a gadol. 100%. It is always hard to be a tzaddik. No matter what position you came from, it takes a lot of effort. Anyone who does it, incredible. But it's easier to be a tzaddik when your father's Avram Avinu than when your father's Besuel. A tremendous Rasha. Tries killing Eliezer. Everything he does is Od Avodah Zarah. Besides for all the other issues. The brother's Lavan. Lavan Bikash Lachash Lakol. We're trying to say he's worse than Paro. You're growing up in a house. The father's Besuel, the brother's Lavan. To become a Rivka in that house, it certainly would seem more impressive. One would think that Hashem should answer Rivka first before he answers Yitzchak. What's the answer? It's the same idea. When I was in elementary school, I did not need to pay much attention, and I did fine. And it was okay. I could, space out 80% of class, 90% of class, and it was fine. It was not like a big challenge. And I did. I spaced out the vast majority of class. And I did fine. And this continued, and whatever. At some point, things started to catch up. But elementary school, you're able to coast like that. And you can get through a lot of life like that. And a lot of times when people live like that, and all of a sudden they get to, they get to college, and all of a sudden everything's hard, they're in class, they're at their level, they don't know how to deal with it, and they don't know how to actually work. And they end up dropping out. So yeah, that's always a risk. But you can have, I teach in middle school now. And I have some students who, they do space out almost the whole class, and they do fine. They get A's. I have other students who would at some be a C student, and they work hard, and they get A's. And both of them will end up with the same grade in the report card. One of them put in a tremendous amount more work, and the other one put in almost no work. And they're both going to get the same grade because that's how I grade. I fudge it a little bit for guys who put in extra effort, but a guy who's getting an A and they didn't work at all, he's still getting an A. I'm not going to take away his A just because he's smart. If a guy would in general be an A student, and he puts in that same level of effort that the guy has to kill himself to get the A's puts in, it's much harder for him to put in that level of effort. To go ahead and become the maximum that you can be. The guy who's the C/D student, and he puts in the effort, and he works in hard, he has a drive. He has a challenge, he has a reason to work hard. The guy who was the A student has very little reason to work hard, and that's why I didn't work hard when I was in elementary school. Because why should I? I didn't. If a guy like that goes ahead and puts in all the effort that he should, he goes ahead and he decides, I'm going to put in every ounce of effort that I can because I want to be great. That takes a lot more challenge. Rivka growing up, around the Lavan, around the Besul, you look at it and go, I have to change. I can't live like this. I can't be like a Lavan, I can't be like a Besul. I have to do everything in my power to be as great as I can be. So I can be as different from them as possible, so I can live a life of meaning. They have every reason in the world to want to do that. Because look where you came from. Yitzchak, he grew up in Avraham house. There are malachim or bnei Bais in the house. It's considered to be a normal thing when Hagar sees malachim. That was the normal thing. Even malachim were just in the house all the time. To go ahead and do that, it's pretty simple. Just say, okay, listen, I'm going to put in some effort. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be a tzaddik. It's easy to just go ahead and say, I'm just going to put in, the amount of effort necessary to be a tzaddik. But to go ahead and put in every single bit of effort that is possible to become the absolute greatest that you can possibly be, that's much harder to do when you don't need to do that. When you're doing fine and you're in yeshivas and you're going through the system and you're learning and you're going to night seder and you're being honest in business and you feel like, okay, I'm okay. I'm going to Olam Haba, I'm raising my kid, how much effort I'm doing to put my kids through yeshivas and to come to night seder after a whole day of work and to be nice to my family and everything I do, I'm going to Olam Haba, I'll be fine. To go ahead and when you're already at that level and to put in every single ounce of effort to say, what is the greatest I can actually be? That's an incredibly hard thing to do. And if we can all do that, first of all, so that's because Yitzchak did that. Because that's such a hard thing to do, Rav Dessler says that's why his tefillos were answered. And Hashem, we should all be zocha to put in all the effort. You guys are great. You guys are phenomenal coming out on a Thursday night. It's late at night. Come out there, Shirley. It's cold out. It's 14 degrees outside. Oh, it's not kishmak.
It's summer day compared to 2 days ago. So.
That's true. It was brutal a couple days ago. But to go ahead and go out to night seder and to go ahead and learn, it's already incredible. But the fact is that there's a lot of room to grow. You guys are phenomenal. Keep steiging.
That's what the food's for.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah. Hashem, we should be able to keep growing in other ways. Keep growing in Ruchnias. Bring Bria Skoltzeg here, Amen.